I'm Dirk Fender, and we're about to embark on a pretty time consuming but really rewarding journey of making the Build This Soil version of the Coots Soil mix right here on Dirk Fender's Cultivation Nation. So when it comes to organic gardening and sources for organic amendments, Build This Soil is one of the best choices for our community. Jeremy at Build This Soil is a very cool dude. He makes videos just for our benefit, and he really does know what he's talking about. And so this time I just really thought, since we already covered a light autoflower basic mix, we would get into a more complicated organic soil mix. So I thought, what better mix than Jeremy's version of the Coots soil mix, because Clackamas Coots mix has been used widely throughout the community for years and years and years. And there is a reason why, so I thought maybe we could break that down. So there's going to be a lot of close-ups of none other than dirt in this video. So for you guys who don't like this mug, you're in luck, because we're about to break down a few of the things that I did differently. And if you guys want to follow Jeremy's recipe 100% and not deviate at all, I've linked his down below. But in the interest of saving time and doing resourcing and saving a little bit of money as well, I went ahead and used a lot of the down-to-earth amendments I had on hand to go ahead and round out this mix. But anyways, without further ado, here we go. The first thing that I did different than Jeremy was pretty much everything. He mixed his all out on a tarp, and I mixed mine in totes and in trash cans. The basic recipe of this is 1/3 peat moss, 1/3 pumice and rice hulls, and 1/3 worm castings. Then you add in the amendments. What you see here is me mixing the pumice with the worm castings. Now, this process was really easy. In the tote, I just sat in a chair and just went ahead and mixed everything together. And it was pretty satisfying and pretty easy. My process was to mix a bag of worm castings, then a bag of rice hulls, then a bag of pumice, and repeat until all of the worm castings, pumice, and rice hulls were used up, and I had a nice, consistent, and very pleasant to the touch soil mixture just beginning to take form. I really took extra care to make sure there were no clumps in the worm castings. They were very dense and very dark worm castings, and they were pretty amazing. I actually got them through Home Depot, and I'm not surprised that they're top notch. Now it's time to add in amendments. My amendments aren't the same ones Jeremy used. This is because I already had a substantial amount of down-to-earth on hand, and these products are really well. You can see the names of all of the products that I used on screen, and I basically just followed the standard directions on the back of the box per gallon of soil as I mixed in each of these. Those amendments are crab meal, fish bone meal, oyster shell, bat guano, rock phosphate, lange and bentonite, alfalfa meal, insect frass, and I added some seed meal and some kelp meal that weren't on camera. I took care to mix the amendments thoroughly inside of a bucket, and then after I did that, I went ahead and poured them into a tote and mixed them in with the worm castings, pumice, and rice hulls. I didn't really want the amendments getting on my skin, so I went ahead and mixed them in with a rake, and it did a very good job of getting it blended in real nice and even, since the tote wasn't over full quite yet. I did each section of what you're watching every morning, early in the morning, because I live in Arizona, and by about 8 a.m. it's so hot you can't even move outside. And Jeremy was right about one thing. You can do this in stages, and I do recommend it because it really is a lot of hard work. It's time for another substitution. Jeremy used some very nutrient-rich worm castings from Colorado Worm Casting Company. I substitute that and the biochar for what you're looking at now, this BioCast organic fertilizer worm castings. It's very rich and dark, loaded with mycorrhiza, biochar, and it is fantastic. And it can be sourced through Home Depot online, making it a little bit easier to get a hold of for me anyhow, since the shipping is free to the store. The end result is what you're looking at here. This is all of the amendments mixed with the worm castings, pumice, and rice hulls. And now it's time to add peat moss. Now this part was the hard part. So I didn't get any footage of me actually breaking apart the peat moss and getting that process going. And trust me guys, you probably wouldn't have wanted to see what was going on there. But I did get the exact bale of peat moss that Jeremy used in the video. And I do have to say, it is a lot of peat moss. It literally fills two 32-gallon brute garbage cans. And that's pretty crazy all in its own. But it took quite a long time to break apart. It was a very tedious process, and if I have to ever make this again, I'm honestly gonna go with loose bag Coco instead of the Peat. It's just too much work for me, and that is my 2 cents on the peat moss. I already don't like where it's sourced from, to be honest, but I wanted to be loyal as I could be to the recipe, and I figured by replacing it with Coco, I wasn't even doing the same thing. But next time, I'm replacing it with Coco, because that will be easier. And guys, if you decide to do this mix, it might be easier to do so with Coco. In the past, I made exactly the same mix with Coco, and I did 1/3 worm castings, 1/3 pumice and rice hulls, and 1/3 Coco, and it was a fabulous mix. And it became infested with fungus gnats, and at that time I was having a problem eliminating them from my home, so I decided to just take all of the soil and put it in a raised bed and use it for my garden, and that's what I did. And now I finally have a new mix coming back out. So one thing I can say is this is a long process. It is not an easy process, and it will take you time to do. And as I mix the things together, I literally just use 1 bucket full to 2 things of the amendments and worm castings, and just kept mixing that together until I refilled my trash cans all the way. And to keep the insects from infesting it or for it getting worse, I'm not going to water it in like Jeremy did for moisture at the start. I'm going to allow it to stay dry, and then as I fill the pots, I'll add moisture and water them and get them ready beforehand that way, because I'd rather have it stay anaerobic, not absorbing water and not attracting insects. And then the other thing I do is I just put about this much diatomaceous earth right on the top of that. And the diatomaceous earth will not hurt the soil in any way, but when I mix it together, and water for the first time, that stuff will begin to break down, adding a little bit of silica and other beneficial things to the soil. So it's not really a loss at all, but it also keeps my soil allowed to be able to be outside and stay bug free. So I planted a couple plants into this soil already. I got my Samoas in there, I got my Scooby Snacks, and I'm pleased to say they are thriving, they're doing great. But just in case you missed my shorts, I linked them down below, and then also I linked Jeremy's video down below. Thanks for watching, guys. That's the dirt on the Coots mix. I've been Dirk Fender. You guys have been awesome. Peace. I love you guys, and party on. Conan, what is good in life? Weed. Weed is outrageously good. In fact, it is the best thing in life. Thank you. Thank you, 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 and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you.